y'all, it is Nikki. Welcome back to the channel, where I have had a really great week as far as reading goes, which you know, reading is something that I don't do as much as I write. So I've been in the reading zone lately, mostly because of Brandon Sanderson. I've had some outstanding books on my Cosmere to be read list, and one of them was the third book in the Wax and Wayne trilogy, which is like a second trilogy in the Mistborn kind of saga. Like, you have the original Mistborn trilogy, and then there's Wax and Wayne, which is another set of books that takes place like hundreds of years after, and actually there are 4 books in that series, so I still have one left. Anyway though, I got my hands on the audiobook for the third one, cruised through that in like 2 days because it was very good, very engaging. But then the last line of the book, I think it was in the epilogue, just blew my mind. I was in my living room. Of course there were people around because I'm that annoying person that's like having like a whole experience with a book while everyone else is trying to just go about their lives. And I'm listening to this last line and then just like and had to try and explain it to the people in the room who didn't care. It was a revelation. I did not see it coming, and it changed the way I saw the entire Mistborn trilogy. But here's the funny thing. Earlier that day, I had gone to the library and grabbed Mistborn Secret History, which I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know that this book existed until I got to the library and saw that it was a Cosmere book, so I just took it because sure, why not? But then later that day, I finished this Wax and Wayne book, and it's followed up with a postscript by Brandon Sanderson saying, like, if you want to know more, read Mistborn Secret History. And I already had it because I just got it at the library that day. That's what I've been reading for the past couple days, and I finished it, I think 2 days ago, and it was so good. It just blew open my entire understanding of the Mistborn trilogy. Because I have to be honest, Mistborn, as much as I did enjoy it, it like wasn't my absolute favorite book series ever, and I think the main problem was that I didn't really feel that much of a connection to the main characters. I didn't love them. This book, Mistborn Secret History, kind of fixed that problem, and now I feel like I need to go back and read Mistborn again to understand it better, and honestly, I'm feeling that on a few levels. Like, even just looking up a Cosmere reading list and seeing their suggestions for like, oh, we recommend that you read Warbreaker before you read this, and I didn't do that, so now I'm like, wait, have I missed stuff? So now I'm trying to decide which books I want to reread before the 5th Stormlight novel comes out, which I think is this year? It better be this year. As always, there's like a process for me when reading a really good book, and especially for me, I've only really experienced that with like Brandon Sanderson, maybe the Lunar Chronicles. Rook is definitely another one where you enjoy the ride and you get to the end and it's like, oh my gosh, that was just so good, and you're like on a high, book high for a bit, but then the like writer implications crash in, and I always end up in a sort of like imposter syndrome kind of place that I have to work through, where it's like, oh, see, that's what a really good book looks like, and I'll never be able to do that, and why do I even try, and crisis. Now that I know to expect it, it's a little bit easier to like push through that and be like, no, just choose to take inspiration from this powerful story that hit you so hard. Don't choose to see it as like discouraging. Take what you can from it, to glean what you can from it, and use that to propel you forward and become a better writer. But it's kind of just my process at this point. Like, read a really great Stormlight book, love it, rave about it, then like have a small crisis as you grapple with your own inability to create something on that level, and then use that to propel you forward so that one day you can create something that you'll be as happy with. One thing that I also struggle a lot with is trying to figure out how to channel that passion into something that I can use for God's glory. Because stories just, they're so powerful. And I find that for me, while I am an emotional person, I also tend to be pretty like skeptical and distrusting of my emotions, and in real life I tend not to be too emotional. I don't really know how to describe my personality type. The point is that stories can get me the way that often just like life doesn't. They can really elicit an emotional reaction from me, and sometimes that's kind of overwhelming, and I feel like, what is the point of this? Like, why do I have all this passion for stories? I have been bringing that to the Lord in prayer. I just really feel like that's something I want to give to him so that he can kind of put it to whatever use he wants to put it to. And I'm really thankful because yesterday, what day was yesterday? Yes, it was yesterday. I was kind of reflecting on this and struggling with it a little bit, and then it struck me as I read, it was a really powerful verse in Hebrews that just was a reminder of just how epic God is. It reminded me that I need to channel my love of epic stories into writing epic stories that create that feeling, that excitement in the reader, not just about the story, but about God. That kind of gave me the push I needed to kind of keep working, keep planning, keep moving forward, remembering that, okay, this is my goal. This is what I love about these stories. They draw your mind to something that is just vast and grand and beyond comprehension and make you connect with that in an intimate way. And that's what I want to do with stories that glorify God, that show the reader that there is someone vast and epic, but also personal, that they can connect with in a really just meaningful way. I don't know if that made any sense, but that was my little epiphany moment yesterday. And every once in a while, God will kind of remind me of like, okay, I gave you this passion for a reason. You can channel it into something constructive. Use it. This is how. And sometimes you need that when you're dealing with an imposter syndrome spiral and it's just like, why am I even bothering? You need those little reminders of like why you have this passion, why you love doing this, and how you can use that for something that is good. Next order of business for me, in addition to writing, is to read the 4th book in the Wax and Wayne series so that I at least have that under my belt. And then I want to get my hands on the Arcanum Unbounded book, which is like a collection of Cosmere stories, because I feel like I'm missing stuff. Like, you know when you go online and you see all the people on the 17th Shard blog that know all this stuff and you're like, where are they getting this from? Like, did I miss that? Where was that? I don't know. I don't like feeling behind. I want to catch up. I want to try and reread Stormlight, or at least like skim reread, because there are parts of it that just are still too painful for me to read again, just so I can catch up and be as ready as possible by the time the next Stormlight novel comes out, which I'm actually like scared for, by the way. Does anyone else feel that way? I'm like so excited, but I'm also like dreading it because it will just break me. I know it will. Anyway though, I could go on about that forever. I will cut it off there. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment below with a book that just gets you every time and just either just stirs up your story passion or makes you feel like you need to like lay on the ground and stare at the ceiling for an hour or two processing. I love books like that, but they are pretty emotionally draining in the best way. And as always, do not forget to spend some time in the clouds today.